Hello everyone! The past month the Hungarian election has been going viral and many clips are spreading about both sides. Seeing how much the world didn't know what has been going on the past years in this small country is fascinating, which is why me as a Hungarian man are here to tell you the crazy propaganda and scandals that happened between Fidesz and Tisza party. I will get into some of their politics too, but this video is mainly about the propaganda and the scandals. Now that we are in the clear, let's start the video. First of all, I have to introduce you to our Prime Minister for the past 16 years, Viktor Orbán. Viktor Orbán, as the party leader of Fidesz, won the 1998 election based on his anti-Soviet, youth-friendly politics. Other than that, he was a big supporter of NATO, which Hungary did join during his first years. But even after all this, Viktor Orbán actually lost the 2002 election to Péter Menczer, who resigned in 2004 and Ferenc Gyurcsány became the Prime Minister. In 2006, Ferenc Gyurcsány won the election against Viktor Orbán, but things in the long game went very bad for him. Ferenc Gyurcsány, during his őszedi speech after the election, admitted they messed up very bad and actually lied a lot about the economy and admitted that they haven't done anything meaningful yet. In 2009, Ferenc Gyurcsány resigned and Gordon Bajnai took his place, which didn't actually matter because Orbán destroyed him while also winning 2/3 majority in the parliament. Which basically means he can just remake the political system and they can change the key laws in the country, which is what helped him stay in the government for the past 16 years. Orbán's politics fully changed over the years. He went against the EU as much as he could, took money from everywhere he could, and became good friends with Russia and the new American president candidate, Donald Trump. To my knowledge, the first signs of propaganda started showing from 2014 against one of his biggest rivals, Gábor Vona, who Viktor Orbán, for example, accused of being a member of a Turkish ultranationalist group, the Grey Wolves. The Hungarian television and news were bought by Fidesz and were told what to say about the opposition, which got them sued by Gábor Vona one by one. In 2017, the first big propaganda started off, which was that George Soros is founding the opposition to let migrants into the country. Viktor Orbán's main campaign became building a wall to stop the migrants from coming in, and he set up many soldiers, making videos of them daily and all that shit. The Stop Soros movement was started by Fidesz to gain the sympathy of the people, which was a major success because Fidesz ended up winning the 2019 election against Gábor Vona. But then two new faces appeared on the block. One of them was the new leader of Jobbik, Péter, and the other one was the leader of another party, Gergely Karácsony. Karácsony had a huge rise in popularity because of his center-left views and his fully green politics. Viktor Orbán, instead of facing one opposition like always before, now faced two people from different sides, which did not help his case at all, so he started off the Gyurcsány Show ad miniseries. But what do I mean by ad miniseries? The Gyurcsány Show is a political advertising format made up of short, episodic videos where opposition politicians are portrayed as characters in a continuous story. Each episode is a separate ad that is shown in TV or on social media. But together these episodic ads form a narrative that frames the opposition as a single coordinated group controlled by Ferenc Gyurcsány. This way Viktor Orbán doesn't have to fight Gergely Karácsony and Péter one by one. He can use the narrative that they are both used as puppets to bring Ferenc Gyurcsány back as Prime Minister, making one single enemy picture. Let's not even mention that obviously George Soros is still framed as the mastermind, who funds Ferenc Gyurcsány to bring down Fidesz. The opposition realized they won't be able to beat Viktor Orbán one by one, so basically every opposition party made a coalition together and chose one single party leader to go up against Fidesz, while every other opposition supports them. This coalition had an election in 2021 where they would choose who represents them. Obviously, Fidesz made sure to narrate every step through new Gyurcsány Show episodes, which all would claim no matter what happens, it's part of Ferenc Gyurcsány's plan. Even though Gyurcsány's wife was actually a candidate and lost to Péter Márki Zay, a new guy who people liked very much. Péter Márki Zay became the chosen opposition leader against Fidesz, while every other party leader supported him, like I said. This is when the mini-ferry campaign started off by Fidesz calling Márki Zay the exact replica of Ferenc Gyurcsány. Also, dollar left side was a narrative too. George Soros was presented as Santa Claus, throwing money at all of them. And the Gyurcsány Show started making some very long ads, cutting sentences out of context to make the opposition look like they want to send Hungary into war, they want to reduce job payments, let migrants in, or just make sure to ruin the economy. The government news channels would just spread the propaganda while never actually agreeing to have an interview with the opposition or let them explain themselves on TV. The war and dollar left propaganda, and also probably Ferenc Gyurcsány's involvement in the coalition, actually made Fidesz win with another 2/3 majority in the parliament. Now in 2024, the person you all been waiting for appeared, Péter Magyar. To give you a little background on him, Péter Magyar was actually part of Fidesz since 2002. His wife was also in Fidesz, who he had 3 children with. Reportedly, Péter Magyar actually had many arguments inside Fidesz because he did not agree with a lot of things they did. And he even managed to tell his friends inside Fidesz that he wants to challenge the government himself, but they laughed in his face. He became distant with most of them, even divorced his wife, and with nothing keeping him there in 2024, he said screw all of you, and he started airing out everything Fidesz did. He even made a secret voice recording where his now ex-wife admits that a Fidesz party member, Antal Rogán, took his name out of a corruption case using his political influence. Péter Magyar took over a smaller party called Tisza and announced them going to the European Parliament election. And the party mainly tried to speak to the young people to end the corruption they grew up in. Péter Magyar had an instant success, and Fidesz started the propaganda machine by sending his ex-wife into an interview where she mostly talked about how abusive Péter Magyar was during their relationship. Another big moment before the election was an event where each party argued with each other. The reason this was big because Viktor Orbán actually never agreed to a debate since Ferenc Gyurcsány destroyed him back in 2008. Every party leader showed up except for 2, and one of them was sadly Fidesz. They sent Tamás Deutsch, whose every second word was either war, peace, or dollar left side.
Háború, 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 háború párti, háború párti, háború párti, háború párti, háború párti, háború párti, béke, 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 béké, békére, békepárti, dollár baloldal, dollár baloldal, dollár baloldal, dollár baloldal, dollár baloldal, dollár baloldal.
Tisza managed to get 30% in the EP election in June 2024. Fidesz knew they are in trouble for the next 2 years, so they started working overtime for the propaganda. I'm pretty sure I cannot even put everything in the video, but I will do my best. First of all, before the EP election, Fidesz actually tried doing a good old strategy that worked against the opposition before, and they added Péter Magyar to the dollar left side billboard group, saying George Soros bought him too. Obviously this didn't work out the second time, so they had to move to a new narrative. Every billboard, every advertisement, and every news station started saying that Tisza wants to bring back mandatory military service and send the youth into war. Péter Magyar denied this claim altogether and actually struck back instantly by bringing up an interview from 2016. In this interview, a founding member of Fidesz and now Speaker of Parliament, László Kövér, talked about him personally wanting to bring back mandatory military service and how he thinks it's necessary. Péter Magyar later on had a little accident at a nightclub where he got into a heated argument and security had to escort him out. The police investigated the claim from a person who said Péter took his phone and threw it in the Danube River. Although the river part was never confirmed, Fidesz jumped at the news in an instant. They claimed Péter Magyar uses his European Parliament immunity to avoid legal consequences. He later on was asked about this, and he said he will request the suspension of his immunity if Hungary joins the European Public Prosecutor's Office, which basically means all the corruption involving the EU money would be investigated. Also at this time, Péter Magyar actually started investigating the Hungarian hospitals with cameras and thermometers to show the awful condition they are in. Fidesz denied everything seen in the videos. In October, there was an EU Parliament meeting where finally 2 enemies could speak face to face. Péter Magyar just talked about the horrible conditions Hungary is in, while Viktor Orbán made sure to only bash him with the immunity he uses. But this meeting gave more ammunition to Fidesz. During this argument, Péter felt his genital a bit uncomfortable and adjusted it through his pocket. No one actually cared about this because it's a normal thing for a man to do, but Fidesz jumped on the opportunity in an instant. Government-controlled news channels made some crazy headlines, like Péter Magyar touching himself in the parliament. All this while playing a 2-second clip on loop in slow motion. Péter just laughed at the desperate try and made many jokes both in interviews and on his TikTok where he took out banana from his pocket. Viktor Orbán just blames everything on Brussels and glazes Trump like crazy, while Fidesz tries a new trick which is bringing in another ex-girlfriend of Péter Magyar, who actually helped him on the creation of the Tisza party. The ex-girlfriend Evelin Vogel released a voice recording where Peter complains about smelly-breathed people at his rally. During those months, many voice recordings were released by Vogel. In some of the most important ones, Péter Magyar said some of his own party members are brain-damaged or stupid. There was this whole back and forth between the two for months, and Evelin even claimed Peter accused her of being a Fidesz spy before and claimed she felt threatened by him. Péter Magyar claimed the voice recordings were manipulated by using AI and also cutting together the words he said on different topics. It did get confirmed that the recordings were way longer than what was shown, and this back and forth closed by Peter suing Evelin, and later on Evelin claiming that he is a sensitive guy and she doesn't want to ruin him, but she also does not agree with the things he said or the things he stands for. With this case closing up, there was another scandal during the Christmas times when Péter Magyar started visiting orphanages to see how they are holding up. And also he just wanted to bring the children some Christmas gifts. Sadly couldn't get into many of them because politicians were waiting in the doorstep stopping him from getting inside. The scandal mainly started because of one specific orphanage where a big Fidesz party member, Tamás Menczer, confronted him at the door. But the confrontation was kinda like something you see in a pub. Menczer literally got into his face with foaming mouth, saying shit like "it's only you and me here, don't look at anyone else, it's over little one," or shit like "you can be a big guy to woman, let's see how you deal with bigger men than you." Peter tried telling him to stop shouting in front of a place where 3-year-old children are staying, but he also sometimes told him to brush his teeth once in a while.
Eddig láttam, hogy tudod, rám figyelj, ketten vagyunk, csak itt te meg én, senki más nem tud neked segíteni. A gyerekeket kell tőled megvédeni.
Egy olyan otthon előtt, ahol 3 éves gyerekek vannak
államtitkárok. A gyerekeket kell tőled megvédeni, a nőket, és mindenki más.
At the end of the day, he couldn't get inside, but the behavior of Tamás Menczer blew up the internet because this is usually how a drunken redneck acts, not an important politician. Viktor Orbán at the start of 2025 increased his focus on the LGBTQ related issues and events like Budapest Pride. Péter Magyar called him out on it, saying he wants people to focus on other topics rather than the problems in Hungary. In May, news scandals started surrounding Fidesz because Viktor Orbán showed great support to Romanian president candidate George Simeon, who openly made a campaign on hating the Hungarians. Péter Magyar showed his concern regarding Orbán's support by walking down to Romania fully on foot. Orbán tries to deflect all this by going to podcasts and interviews, but never on one that is against their party. There was also a new group Fidesz made during this time called Fighters Club. Fighter Club members were probably elderly people or brainwashed people, and it failed miserably. First of all, Fidesz member Alexandra Szentkirályi actually promoted this club by editing themselves into the Fight Club movie. Then later on, they give a list of sentences to the members, and they had to write these in different comment sections. Bad things for the opposition and good things for Fidesz. And they even made a game where one of the people who did this gets a car. The sentences on the list became a huge meme material when they were leaked because it had some crazy shit there, like traitor, and they put in brackets next to it saying one word. Or the other one they had was 3 emojis, which is 2 flags and a heart. But sadly, members of the Fighter Club didn't quite understand the assignment, and they literally copy-pasted traitor one word with the brackets in the comment section, or they wrote out flag heart as actual words. Márki Zay actually made fun of them a lot for this. But let's move on to another topic. The news site Index released a file which they claim was supposed to be Tisza documents, and all of them had plans on raising taxes. One of the party members of Tisza, Zoltán Tar, tries to explain how it's not true, but he fails miserably. And he words it so bad that it makes their case way worse. And people actually think Tisza just confirmed these news. The propaganda machine jumps into it and they make out some new villains. Specifically Zelensky, Ursula von der Leyen and Manfred Weber. Every advertisement and billboard in Hungary tries shoving down the people's throat that these guys bought Péter Magyar and they are using him to bring Hungary into war and raise taxes for their own wealth. All this chaos forced Péter Magyar to release their whole tax plan. But if the propaganda starts, it doesn't stop. The Ukrainian war and Europe's involvement becomes the main narrative even to this day. Balázs Orbán, Fidesz politician, even made memes on Facebook where he made it look like European Parliament leaders and Zelensky asked for Péter Magyar to steal the Hungarian money before Viktor Orbán joins the chat room and says Hungarians will have a few things to say about this. That was obviously a meme, but I think it's worth mentioning just to show even on social media they posted the propaganda. Tisza, for the second time this past 2 months, suffers a huge data leak, which they claim to be done by Russian secret service. The Fidesz news sites don't actually hold back on the information this time, and they actually dox many of the Tisza members. A Fidesz news reporter even went to Tisza activist's house on video. ATV News became a huge part of the politics because they managed to have Péter Magyar in the studio in 2024 and also have Viktor Orbán in 2025. Péter Magyar actually had one of his most iconic moments there. He believed they just kept repeating the propaganda and he walked out mid-interview.
Szerkesztő úr, van-e kérdés, amiért behívtak, vagy nincs? Vagy
én egy dolgot kérnék, hogy ha lehet, akkor ezt az áldatlan kutya komédiát hagyjuk abba. Hogy üzenget nekünk, ezt meg tudjuk beszélni?
Van-e kérdés?
Van, ez például egy kérdés.
Viszontlátás.
But to be fair, he did go back few months later and finish the interview. But they didn't ease up on Viktor Orbán either, which made some very viral moments.
De összességében ma Brüsszelre nem számíthatunk, mert Brüsszel ellenséges szemmel tekint Magyarországra, és nem akar bennünket támogatni.
Magyarországra vagy az önkormányzására? Ez nem mindegy. Hogy látja?
Hát most épp egybeesik.
De nem teljesen.
De
hát
teljesen.
Van egy ország, meg van egy kormány.
Igen, de az ország nevében én járok el Brüsszelbe. Tehát ez, ha tetszik, ha nem.
For the moment he was asked about children being threatened in Hungary or being poor.
Szívesen beszélgetek önnel erről. Vegyük elő, nézzük meg az alábontásokat, hogy néz ez ki. Földrajzilag hol van. Etnikailag hol van. Cigány gyerekekről beszélünk, vagy magyar gyerekekről. Budapestiekről, vagy vidékiekről.
Hát a cigány gyerekek is magyar gyerekek.
Igen, de mégis egy sajátos csoport. Tehát az nem mindegy.
During all this time, by the way, there was a new Ukrainian war ad daily, and Péter Magyar struck back by making a propaganda video himself in the same style they do. He never actually made it as an ad, he just simply uploaded it as a YouTube video. In this video, he released private conversation he recorded back in 2023, in which the Hungarian defense minister mentioned they let go of peace and they are preparing Hungary for war. Fidesz got lucky because at this point Ferenc Gyurcsány actually retired, giving up politics and divorcing his wife, who is still his party's leader. In one of the news channels they even claimed that Péter Magyar will actually now make an alliance with Gyurcsány's old party, and they claimed this was obvious from the get-go. The only problem is not only that this alliance never happened, but Péter Magyar continued to publicly hate on the party itself. I also have to mention a new strategy of Fidesz, which is sending voting letters out to every Hungarian and using them as propaganda. What these letters contained are a little message from Viktor Orbán and a vote at the bottom if we will support Ukraine joining the EU. Well, I actually read my letter when I got it because I was very curious, and the whole message from Viktor Orbán basically just kept pushing that you can vote for yes, but just letting you know that if that happens, we are in serious danger. Every bad thing will happen, your family and friends will be taken by the Ukrainians into war, and migrants will hurt us and all that shit. Viktor Orbán used these votes as a propaganda to say Hungary is with him and against Tisza and the EU. You would think at this point there was no way they could go even lower, but yes, there was lower. Actually 3 stages lower. The first was making AI-generated ads showing it in the news and national TV, which obviously the elderly watches. There was 2 AI videos, one of them showed Hungarian soldiers dying on the battlefield, the other one had a little girl crying, asking her mother when will daddy come home and when can she see him again, and then it cuts to men being executed by soldiers and later the dead body holding a picture of the little girl, implying that it's the father that was murdered. This actually went so deep that there were some reports coming in of someone's grandma giving up on life, to say it nicely, because she got scared of the war advertisement. They even made an AI video where Péter Magyar started taxing diamonds from kids inside Minecraft. The next stage where they even went lower was making a literal AI comic called Me the Two-Faced, and it basically made Péter Magyar look like a lunatic trying to kill his wife, not speaking to his children, and being a puppet to Europe and Ukraine. The problem is they even made mistakes in this one. You see, in Hungary we call a landline phone shell phone. These idiots who made the comic probably used this Hungarian phrase on the AI, because on one of the pages, Péter Magyar picked up a phone which had a literal seashell on it. Whatever, like I said, there was still one more stage that's worse than everything we've seen before. A new site appeared with the link rodneymark.hu. If you don't know, Mark Rodney is kinda like a vice president of Tisza. This site had a picture from a video footage and it showed an empty room. Under the picture was a coming soon text, which later turned into once upon a time and the date. Péter Magyar made a TikTok video explaining the situation before they could reach the date on the site. He said back in 2024, his ex-girlfriend Evelin Vogel visited Tisza during one of their events. He gave in to the temptation and followed her back to the room shown in the picture. He said there was a table with drugs and things like that, but he didn't touch any of them. He meant his ex-girlfriend ended up doing the deed in this one room. He thinks the encounter was secretly recorded by her so she can give it to Fidesz as propaganda. Hungarian people didn't care about this at all because who even gives a shit about two consensual adults having a sexual life? But let's just say the internet did have fun with the picture, using AI to put Viktor Orbán and Donald Trump half naked in the room, or maybe like an electrician fixing the lights. Actually, the video was never released, but like a week before the election a new link appeared which led to a voice recording made by Evelin Vogel, where she talks to Mark Rodney about how rough Péter is in the room with them. This recording was never confirmed to be real or addressed by Tisza to my knowledge, and the main purpose of it was painting a picture that Péter Magyar is into men. But at this point Viktor Orbán just lost the plot. Like 2 weeks before the election, he threw a tantrum on stage, shouting at Tisza voters, calling them traitors, the reason Hungarian families will suffer war, or Brussels puppets.
Erre fütyüljetek ott hátul, kedves tiszások, erre fütyüljetek! Az ukránok szekerét toljátok, és nem a magyarok mellett álltok. Ukrán barát kormányt akartok, és el akarjátok vinni a magyarok pénzét Ukrajnába. Ez az igazság.
As we all know, Tisza won the election by 2/3 majority. Péter Magyar, since being elected, started shutting down the propaganda channels, or at least he started turning them into independent news stations. Péter Márki Zay got sued by Fidesz for political involvement as mayor. Because I didn't mention in the video, but him and many other parties actually withdrawn from the election and told their voters to vote for Tisza instead, because that's our best chance to beat Fidesz. One more thing I would like to mention is the picture all over the internet where Péter Magyar wears a kippa and looks like he is Jewish. Well, welcome to Hungarian propaganda, Americans. This is actually 2 pictures that appeared on an unknown site that says every bad shit about Péter Magyar. Péter Magyar on these pictures visited a synagogue to show respect to the Jewish religion. In these places they are usually asked to wear the kippa. I wanted to point this one out because it's all over the internet and people outside Hungary might not be as experienced in this as we are. There were still many things I had to leave out from the video, for example the third party Mi Hazánk, who Péter Magyar claims to be a Fidesz satellite party, but the only proof of that is Fidesz claiming that this party is the only one they would be willing to start an alliance with. Also, this party has like many controversies because they made racist remarks about gypsy people, or the fact that they poured out many bottles of Coca-Cola just because it had a pride flag on it. There was also many controversies during these 2 years regarding Fidesz where they did stuff to children that I cannot really talk about here, so I recommend checking out the site in the description. Sadly it is in Hungarian, so I recommend using a Google automatic translator. And lastly, I would like to mention I obviously didn't show all the ads because that would take like an hour. Also, you might think you only notice these things if you were into the politics, but that's not even close to the truth. I was around 14 not giving a shit about the politics when Gyurcsány show started, and I literally had every single propaganda memorized because I seen it like 15 times during a usual YouTube video. Or sometimes I just seen it on a billboard going to school. I know propaganda happens in every country, but I'm not sure if it's on this level. It's been a wild ride, and even though I have my concerns about Péter Magyar, I will still look forward to the future and see if he will actually take the country to a better place. But this video isn't about this. This is about dark propaganda years of Hungary. Thank you for watching.